Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're as excited as we are for our next session. Think outside the sandbox, nurturing a unicorn. Please welcome on stage Lenas Thoma, CEO of Errante, who will introduce the panel. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the IFK Expo, the panel of Think Outside the Sandbox, Nurturing a Unicorn. I have with me Panis Pieri and Alex Michael. We're supposed to have one more guest, but she couldn't make it today. So it'll be the three of us today. When IFK Expo sent me the title of the panel, I asked my eldest son, Christos, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about a unicorn? He told me that, Messi. Okay. Then I asked my daughter, I got to Naya, what do you think, when I said to you unicorn? She told me Taylor Swift. So I said, okay, forget it. It's not what I'm looking for. Panis, you want to say a few words about yourself instead of me introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Lenas. Yeah, actually, Messi and Taylor, if you consider them that they have companies, they are unicorns. I'm Panis Pieri, I'm a startup blogger. I was monitoring from 2011, 2012 when the startups ecosystem started in Cyprus. Actually, Alex was one of the founders of the first event, Hack Cyprus, back then. And I had my own blog. I used to work in the Forex industry because we are in the Forex industry. In my old life, I was a growth hacker and growth marketeer. I have worked in some broker, Saxo Bank, Forex Time, and some others. But now I'm building my own blog, panis.news. That will be featuring startup founder stories from Middle East, Europe, and Africa. Okay, it's good we see familiar faces and new faces in the audience. Yeah, let's have a chat about Unicorn Sandbox. I don't know.
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Alex. I was trying to figure out what I'm going to put as my title, I guess, and I put engineer entrepreneur. I guess what that means is my training is in computer science. I'm a technologist, and entrepreneur comes from, I guess, a few things that I've done in the past. I've founded a company in London called Plum. It's a fintech startup that's still going strong, thank God. I'm not involved now, but I can share some of my experiences back then. And now I'm doing a bit of a sort of fractional CTO work, helping startups grow their teams, and working on a new stealth project that's hopefully is going to be live soon.
You're helping companies in Cyprus, abroad, both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, UK, US, and Cyprus.
US as well?
Yeah.
What's the difference between these jurisdictions?
The money.
Cyprus pays better?
Show me the money.
Of course. I guess the difference is the approach to work. I guess when you're starting, there's a lot more examples in the US and the UK about how to scale or start and grow. So the people have that mentality, or at least they might know someone that did something similar. So there's not a lot of training they have to do. Whereas in Cyprus and in Greece, until a few years ago, I guess Greece is actually ramping up on the startup scene now. There's some explaining you need to do. There's some mentality you need to convey because people haven't seen many successes yet come out of Cyprus and Greece.
Starting a fintech business, I presume is a lot of people have ideas, but to actually implement it, I guess it's much more difficult. Find the capital, find the infrastructure, the people. So going back to you again, Alex, starting a Plum. How did this materialize?
So we started Plum in 2016 with Victor, who's another Cypriot. He's still the CEO of the company. And it was just us. And I guess in my understanding, you need two main components. You need the finance guy or person, and then the technology person. And Victor was a finance, I was a technology. And we just basically had an idea, and we just started building it. So
just the two of you?
Yeah, he took care of the partnerships, the fundraising, and I took care of the product. Okay. And we didn't build it in a sandbox. It was just basically us building, trying to figure out what we're gonna do. It worked out, but there was a lot of risk, a lot of stress, because I guess every month that you're not, there's money coming out of your pocket, when you're starting a building.
Yeah,
So it's a pretty risky situation. You're like, I'm not getting paid. I don't know if this is gonna work. So you just have faith and go.
Very good. Panis, getting on from the sandbox, which Alex mentioned, what's this concept of the fintech sandbox? What can you tell us? Give us your insight.
Okay. I will tell you what a sandbox is. Probably if you have children, in different sandbox, but it's very similar actually. But I will say, because now Alex reminds me something, your sandbox was some of the channels that we had for startups. You came there and you started the plan with experimenting there. Yeah. Actually, doing post, do you love this? Do you want this? Actually, one of your sandbox, yeah. And sandbox is a place, it's a software, that it's a concept that you go there and you test your technology in a controlled environment. For example, we can see Sandbox from 2016, if we get into the industry with FCA in London. Actually, yesterday, George announced our own in Cyprus regulatory sandbox, because in fintech, okay, you have to do a lot of regulations. The guys here, okay, they started without regulation in the beginning, but after, when they...
We couldn't work without a license, but there's ways, not around it, but there's ways to speed it up, let's say. You can work under a bigger company, actually, which is...
But something else that I wanted to elaborate here, how many of you know what a unicorn company is? Could we mention? Yeah, okay. So
let me twist the question. Let's let the audience give us some examples of unicorn, like the thing, some names.
Only 3 people know. So.
Who raised your hands? Unicorn.
I want to say unicorn because they started as raising funds.
Yeah, actually, Unicorn is a tech company that is valued of 1 billion, 1 billion and more. There is also, if you are valued of 10 billion or even half trillion, you have different names. Actually, I don't remember now.
It's like a decacorn or something.
Yeah, decacorn, yeah. And I think decacorn is 10 billion or something else.
That's the unicorn then.
And okay, these big companies, for example, they have also, some of them, like Revolut you mentioned, they have created their own sandbox, so that they help others, younger fintech startups. Usually banks, for example, Barclays use FCA Sandbox to build a very good RegTech innovation before launching it to the public. And what they used, for example, was that they created this technology, they connected it with the regulation in a controlled environment with clients, they tested it, and there, but I believe in the technical aspects, you can speak with Alex about that because he tested a lot of products his life. And he can...
Yeah, I believe that you get 3 things from being in a sandbox. You get expertise, knowledge, right? You get technology, maybe, if the company that is working with you has technology you can use. And then you also get a lot of help with regulation. One simple example would be if there is a regulated company that is thinking of maybe building a product that is applicable for a sort of a different audience, let's say, and you need to build it as maybe a different business line with the hope of it being a different company. You can start and use their license, for example, launch it as a business line, and then maybe spin it off. There's the FCA sandbox, and I guess other jurisdictions have sandboxes as well that I guess you can build within it and then make sure that what you're building follows the law in a way. And there's also sandboxes that are like the AI. There's a lot of AI chat right now, right? Where it's like how all these models right now, how are they going to interact with the world? And people are saying, hey, we need to build a sandbox so you can launch it within the sandbox. So if it tries to destroy the world, all it destroys is the box around it. So that's sort of the idea of a sandbox, I guess. It's like you limit your exposure, essentially.
What about Cyprus? Do we have this sandbox environment in Cyprus? So we talked about the UK, of course. What
Yeah,
about
in Cyprus actually we have SciSec has an innovation hub. It would I don't know how many of you were in the talk of yesterday of George Tokharidis, the chairman. We have an innovation hub there. They have different regulations, the CASP, all this crypto thing and other stuff. Okay, they promised a few years, like 2-3 years ago, to have the regulatory sandbox ready. Of course, we did the innovation hub, but yesterday George said that they found money from Europe, and they will have the regulation sandbox ready early in this year, next year. So
Well,
that's good news, especially for fintech, small startups to go there, play with go in the industry, etc. But you have maybe more mature, let's say, in the fintech space. You have Singapore, you have London, you have a few other jurisdictions. Yeah, that is more mature and sandboxes, and you can play.
Any idea about any big companies in Cyprus that are involved in this, like any banks or any other organizations?
It's a shame Anita wasn't here, but she headed up the one for...
Bank of Cyprus, yeah.
I don't know if that's still ongoing.
Yeah, okay. In Cyprus, we have, for example, Bank of Cyprus has accelerators. We have Deloitte accelerators, we have other accelerators, we have incubators that they can provide you access to this data or AI sandbox that Alex mentioned. You have Gravity Incubator, you have Chrysalis Leap, they do energy. These are accelerators, though, and incubators that they can help you again. Actually, Bank of Cyprus has a hackathon. They do the last 2-3 years a hackathon, and they have like an open. It's mostly on an open API and the PST and this stuff. I don't know the other banks. Of course, they must have something, but they don't have it open or.
Okay.
Or
I don't know if there's a company called Genius. Is it it's a product from Bank of Cyprus, I think. I don't know if that's maybe relevant.
Yeah,
I'm not
Genius
sure.
it's a product.
So it's not a...
It's this e-commerce
It's
or something,
yeah,
right?
it's an
Yeah,
e-commerce.
it's like
It's handling invoicing, things like this.
Yeah.
It's not, but they have in the hackathon they give Bank of Cyprus gives APIs because I was involved setting up the first one that
Gotcha.
they did. They are giving their APIs, their open APIs, and the testing. Actually, there is one in October.
Okay. So if a young person came up to you, either of you guys, and for some mentoring or some guidance, I mean, what would be the first thing you'd tell them? I mean, some success stories or what to mind, what to be careful of?
You mean they're looking to start a company?
Yeah, yeah.
And what?
Through a sandbox, let's say. Or outside a
Or
sandbox.
outside Sandbox?
Yeah, or outside.
What would I tell them?
Sandbox or no sandbox?
Yeah.
I mean, start doing. The guys they started experimenting.
Yeah, I guess.
They had the idea and they started experimenting.
I guess I don't know. My first question would be like, why are you doing it? Like, if it's for the money, then don't do it, because the chances are that you're not going to make much money out of it. But if it's if someone is passionate about a problem they found, or they're super experienced in their industry, and they are they found a way to make it better, or maybe they had they've worked for 20 years in some sort of industry that has a lot of problems, operational issues or whatever, and now they're looking to build something to fix that, then obviously that has a sort of strong basis. Money is, I don't think it should be, at least in the beginning, the main motivator. And then I guess the next thing that I would say is, well, I guess you have to start doing it. Obviously, you have to think lightly about the business, right? About, if this goes big, if this goes small, how much money will I make, how much money will I lose, what the operational cost will be, what team do I need? Do I need to be in a sandbox? Do I have regulatory issues or not? And then you probably might need to find a team as well. It's very, this is my perspective, but when I was doing Plum, it was, I think looking back, I think it would have been a pretty stressful and lonely time if I was alone. Because there's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of times where you just want someone to say, "Hey, it's going to be okay," There's so many things to do, so you kind of need to rely on someone else's strength as well, and not just your
How
own.
many times you reach the point of saying,
This is enough.
fuck it, I don't want to, I want to stop.
I don't know, like many times, like every month.
Okay.
Like I don't know, my mom used to say that when I left Plum, she turned around and said, I guess she was semi-joking, but she was like, "You now look like the Alex I knew before," because it was like clear that I was stressed, semi-depressed or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that's the truth. I don't know. Maybe some people can cope better, but for me, it was pretty stressful, but also pretty exciting. So anyway, you have to dive in, figure out how to build it, maybe get a team, and then I guess see if you need to raise funds. Because if you raise funds, then obviously you're gonna have cash. That's good, but then you're gonna have responsibility.
And reporting.
Exactly. You have investors. You're gonna, obviously give away a chunk of your company, and then sometimes things may not go as you want because the investors might want something different. So if I was to do it again now, I would probably start by trying to figure out a way to bootstrap, and then, if not possible, then raise some funds.
Okay, very interesting. Panis, from your perspective as a tech journalist, what are some noteworthy developments or stories in the fintech sector that startups should be aware of?
Okay, if we take the theme that we're discussing today, it's good to check the story, Google it, the Barclay stories, how they use the Sandbox of UK and they did that. A nice story because I interviewed the founders also when they were starting in London a few years back. It was Revolut. How they started by giving only one feature, zero interpack exchange rate, and with bit PR and marketing and launching in TechCrunch. That is the biggest event. They managed to raise 1 million followers very quick because they actually solve a problem. And this is actually, okay, the other project actually I give a lot as an example is Plum, but you have Alex here. So I can tell you more. But I want to elaborate also a bit in the previous question about the things. I mean, you need to consider when you're starting a company that you have a roller coaster of emotions. So you need your co-founder when something is not wrong, or your family support at one point, at any given point, when things actually failures will be much more than successes. Success will be specific moments and milestones down the line. So you need to handle this in order also to have a good also lifestyle, let's say, or to live as a normal person. Of course, you will have stress. The other thing is that important to see is that in terms of unicorns, you need to choose also a big more addressable market. So the market that you start solving the problem, it needs to be big. If you want to raise money and become actually a unicorn, you will not raise. If your market is not a billion market, investor will not be interested in you, etc. And the other thing is, two things actually make sense, or they sell. First of all, is entertainment. So build something that is entertaining. And the second problem is build solve a problem that actually people that are willing to pay for it. Because there is a lot of startups they are solving a problem, but people are not willing to pay. And this is where research comes in, especially in the beginning, and the experimentation and the testing and everything else.
The last point you said, Pan, is that people are willing to pay. I mean, until maybe you offer something which is for free or it's cheap, and then this comes after 2, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the case might be. Because Revolut is still losing money, for example. I don't know if they will ever stop losing money. So
eventually they will start making money. It's like Amazon. Amazon, how many years they were losing money? I mean, but when I say finding that people are willing to build, for example, Foodie that got acquired from Delivery Hero, etc. The two founders, what they did when they started, when they decided that we'll build a food app. They went and they actually did 10 contracts with 10 companies, restaurants. They wanted to, and they told them that okay, sign the contract, in 2 months we'll have the software ready. So they started selling even before having anything.
So if you have the clients in advance, that's excellent. Yes.
Yeah, and okay, especially if you're a mature founder and you have built a few startups or etc. It's first of all, it's much easier to raise funds. It's much easier to get business agreements from before. So because you know, and also, okay, I know that product is always the number one most important thing, but something else that I utilize, and personally I have a great network in the startup and business, is to networking. Spend time in networking. At any given time, it will help you.
Back to your point, Lenas, about giving it away for free. It's a bit funny because when you're not making money, it's easier to put a value on your, well, not easier, it's easier to inflate the value of your company because there's nothing, when you don't make money, because people don't have any means of comparison. So you're like, we're gonna raise, 2 million for 20%, your company's buying at 10 million, okay. Well, if you do make money, then there's actually formulas. There's a revenue multiple, there's a profit multiple, right? So if you make money, it becomes serious. And then you're like, okay, well, your company can't be worth 100 million because you're only making in one. So it's a strategy, I guess. You can call it a strategy. I mean, personally, I would like to make money from day one.
Very interesting.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is what we did at Plan. We didn't make money from day one. We just gave it away for free. And then the idea was to get millions and millions of customers. And then if you then start, putting paid features in, then you're hoping for a 1-2% conversion to paid. And then you're going to instantly, well, not instantly, but then you're going to be making more money. So I guess it's a distribution strategy. A lot more people are going to use it. If it's free, then you're hoping to convert them. But you don't know if they're real customers until they start paying, right? So it's a risk.
So back to Plum, Alex. So you are the CTO, right?
Yes.
So what helps startups succeed from a technology point of view? I mean, what's the most important thing? Is it the innovation? Is it working properly?
Yeah. I guess. Well, it depends on the it depends on the industry. I would say a bit because if you are yesterday I was in a meeting with someone and they said that they found out about this company that is doing VR for security training. And I mean, that's pretty interesting from a technology perspective. So in a company like that, what matters is the technology. Like, it has to be great. Like the VR, the models, the AI under it, I guess there's a model behind it. It needs to be great. So that's probably one of your key differentiators. If you're building a fintech company, technology is important because I guess it gives you two things. Well, it's kind of the same thing. It's all about automation. If you think about what a finance company needs to do, they're pretty operationally heavy companies because you have to do KYC, you have to do AML checks on people, you have to make sure that the balances check out every day and all that. A lot of the reasons that people say I hate my bank is because the tech is from the 80s or something, and then a big reason that all of these neobanks came out is because they're like, oh no, we're gonna build it from scratch. And then it's going to be 100 times better. And then you're going to have an instant balance. Instead of having an available in current, you're only going to have an available balance. So technology is important then because obviously it gives you a better experience, but also it helps you scale, but at a sort of lower cost because cost is kind of a pretty important part of the equation, right? So if another example is with AI right now, in theory, you could get away with paying for less customer support because now AI is sufficiently advanced to answer some questions and feel like a human. Or, when you're talking about data gathering, it's sufficiently advanced to categorize data without having 100 people giving it 1 million examples to learn from. So it depends. But I guess the one main driver is when you're starting is you have to make decisions to help you get to market as soon as possible. So in theory, you don't want to bet on unproven tech. You just want to use boring technology helps you build the product and go live as soon as possible, and maybe rely on the shoulders of others because there's people that are building operational tools. There's people that are building. There's a lot of cloud products that you can use. You don't have to build everything from scratch. You can get away with paying a bit, and then when you grow, hopefully, then you're gonna have a sort of a build versus buy discussion, and then you're like, okay, maybe it makes more sense now to build it. So you have to be pragmatic about it. Yeah.
Let's have a small, let's say, pause. Audience, any questions for Panis or Alex? What we discussed or something else?
Yeah, we can accept personal questions also.
How did you came with the idea of Plum? I remember it started like a WhatsApp, a messenger app.
Yes. Well, the idea was, it was basically a mix of me being unable to save any money, and then Victor wanting to, I guess, not have to think about saving money. And we had some sort of experiment where I wrote sort of a very simple algorithm to read my transactions and figure out an amount that I can save. And then Victor was saving on his own. And then we compared the two, and then it was a bit better what I did. So then we're like, okay, maybe we can scale that and make it actually valuable for people. And then the messenger bit was, to be fair, I think we were just riding this hype wave thing. It was back when Messenger wanted to be WeChat. WeChat in China is like the operating system of everything. Like people just, and then the Western startup world or tech world said, okay, we have to build the Western WeChat.
It was when chatbots were
exactly.
trending. Basically.
Exactly. So
Europe, because in Japan,
exactly. So in Europe and the US, they're like, okay, we have to be China, or be China, and we have to build the WeChat clone. So then they built a lot of like platform tooling for companies to use and offer sort of user experiences in Messenger. And there was two main things that are good with it, is because one, we didn't have to build an app because Facebook gave us the UI, and two, the distribution was much easier because you see an ad on Facebook, you click on it, and then you land in Messenger, or back then, now it's dead. Whereas with an app, you had to see the ad, click on it, go to the App Store, click download, and then between all those steps, attribution was also lost. So it wasn't clear which ad drove people to download your app. So we figured, okay, this is a faster way to market, so we tried it. The thing I didn't think about is that where I could get to 80% sort of good enough user experience, but that 20%, because if in a chatbot universe, people ask you things and you have to reply. But ChatGPT wasn't a thing back then, so we had to figure out how to understand and then reply. And we didn't have time to build machine learning models and stuff, so we did some very rudimentary sort of checking of like fuzzy searching or whatever. But then that 20% where people say something it doesn't understand, it just harms the user experience. Like the user has like infinite options. Like they can ask you whatever they want. Whereas with a UI, then you limit their options to only what you want them to do. So it turned out that after a couple of years, it became obvious that we have to have an app because this UI is just so hard to maintain and make it good. So we switched to an app. And then we kept Messenger as a notification medium only, so it would just send you messages.
Any other questions, guys? Anyone?
Okay, we don't have questions. Just what's I think here, and maybe elaborate a bit, because a lot of successes that you see, Revolut or others, they're based on they have built a very good UI. That is very important. If you are building a new fintech company, spend time to build your UI, do it Actually, Revolut and Foodie was much better in the beginning than now. They
Yeah,
were
I mean, as
both-
you grow, you have to.
because I value fast things, then I want to do fast things. And back on the days when Foodie launched, it was very 1 second I put
Yeah.
my order. And
Too
Revolut,
many options now, right?
And Revolut
Exactly.
also, yeah, it was easy. I mean, open account in like a few minutes, not 1 minute, maybe less. And yeah, I mean, what I see is as you grow as a company, UI, you don't give so much emphasis in UI. You have other stuff. But UI, you need to give emphasis, I consider, in all the lifetime of your company or whatever you are doing.
Yeah.
It's very important.
It's hard to. If you have 500 people, well, actually, I don't know, 5,000 people or whatever. It's pretty hard to instill your thoughts and your principles in all those people. So you're gonna have a blend of everyone's thoughts and ideas in the UI, and that's gonna be reflected both in the UI and in the technology that you
I
produce.
guess when you are when you're a small and agile team, it's much easier to
Exactly.
do
Yeah.
So you started with 2 people. By the time you left, how many people was working with Plum or at Plum?
40. Now it's like 200.
So the numbers growing from 2 to 40. How was this change and the target not to change, the ideas not to change? I mean, was it difficult? Or was manageable? Let's say.
I mean, it was my first time being a founder, so I kind of learned on the job in a way. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I pissed off a bunch of people. But it was increasingly harder, obviously. If you imagine how many communication pathways exist between 40 people, you can understand how difficult it is. People talk with each other, and then you have to talk to them. You have to make sure that they understand the vision. You have to make sure that you understand what they're building, and that, if they're going to be building it, you have timelines and deadlines and all that. And then the biggest thing that, for me, the hardest thing was just the people aspect, because you have to have to learn about all these people. You have to make sure that they are happy and they're growing within a company. I guess a lot of people that come to work at startups, they do it because they might be interested in the problem, but also because they want to grow. That you get the opportunity to do a lot of things in a startup, and you have to keep providing that to them, because otherwise they're just going to leave. And I had a hard time because Plum was in a way my baby. Like I built it myself, and I had a hard time letting go. And that was a bit of an issue, because you hire people because they're good, and then you're not letting them do their thing, and they're like, why did you hire me? So, but then I learned that as well. So yeah, you have to learn to let go. You have to learn to delegate. That's the only way to scale. You have to actually now my ideal, if I do it again, my ideal end state would be for me to not work at all. Like I would just exist in the company, and then it would just work on its own. Because then that means you did a good job. Like people understand, people.
That's the ideal scenario, yeah.
Yeah. So
Correct.
yeah, I didn't know it back then. Back then I thought I was pretty important, but yeah.
So now doing this fractional CTO part, I mean, how different is it to what you were doing in the past? Because it's not your baby.
Yeah,
It's someone else's baby.
it's just, this is more like an advisory thing. I mean, yes, you get to learn about how people think about their products and stuff, but it doesn't involve me building a lot of things. It's more about, someone coming to me with a problem. A lot of the time, it's just me being a sounding board. Like a founder would basically come and say, I have 5 problems. Can I just talk about it with you? So it's nice because there's variety, but it's also not the same as building. Yeah, that's why I'm now back into building.
Not as exciting,
Yeah, exactly.
but less stressful.
Yeah.
Panis, with your blog, I mean, what is the most important thing or the most usual thing which you blog about or you write about?
Okay, in my life, I have built a few independent media. I have sold some failed, some it was good. I'm most built in on the media aspect, not so on the fintech aspect. But again, in the media space, Again, you need to work with a lot of different characters, people, I mean. You, in the beginning also, you need to hire a lot of freelancers to do project-based stuff, because if you are a small media, especially independent media, you don't. Usually I bootstrap my stuff, and I only go to investors when I want to scale the stuff. If you can do that also, it's better. I'm the guy that I have connected a lot of startups, and they have raised millions. Some they got acquired from others because of connecting with the right people. But I'm the guy also that usually when I build my own company, I bootstrap like hell until I will go to an investor. But again, I believe everything is the team. Everything is the team, how you nurture. Actually, in the previous panel, Michalis Trimos said something very important about the fintech in Cyprus and globally is culture. Culture of the company, to start with a very good collaborative culture in the company and project that culture also outside. I know we're in an industry like Forex that you can find good companies, you can find, let's say, bad companies. Something that I like about also the Forex industry the last years is that a lot of bad, let's say, companies, they have left Cyprus, so they're not here. And one of the reasons is because we have also good regulation, and hopefully when we give them also this sandbox, we are going to attract more fintech and more startups in the island.
So you strongly believe that Cyprus can be a hub for startups?
Listen, Cyprus, because I'm monitoring this from day one, Cyprus currently, it is a hub, it is a tech hub. Now it's about, and this started, like I have said, with Hack Cyprus. Hack Cyprus, for example, was featured in TechCrunch when the guys in 2011, they did the first hackathon here. I mean, we are in this more technology now. The last 10 years, we are entering our second decade. That for us, it's the growth phase. Now with initiatives like other initiatives of Ultimate FinTech, Tech Island and other entities now. In Cyprus, there is a lot of movement, and actually I agree also totally with Michael that he said that it's a very good timing to be in Cyprus and building your tech company from Cyprus, especially if you have IP. You can also elaborate the Cyprus IP regime that it gives you can reduce your corporate tax, one of the things it can reduce.
Tax benefits.
And actually the last 2 years, we have around 30,000 IT specialists that they came to Cyprus to work. Okay, we're importing talent right now because we're a small place, we don't have this. But I believe, because I was involved also in some other initiatives of like Cyprus Computer said, we do Rombodex, 1,000 kids every year, they compete, they go to Estonia, they come first in global competitions of STEM. It's also long-term, it's changing that. So we need to see also more structural changes, of course. Cyprus, because we had this, the last 2 years, we had this acceleration and we needed to import a lot of IT talent. And also we need to see the social aspect, like say the infrastructure, we need to see affordable housing and other things that we need to solve, getting the education and other stuff. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, all these problems can be solved, and Cyprus can be a good place to live. And another thing that we need to solve, I think, is the digital transformation of the government. That the previous deputy minister, they have put a lot of projects of $500 million in place. I mean, all these projects actually they started. So it's about the new government, running new government now to manage all these projects. So they got funding from the European Union and the resilience and all these things. because the EU resilience program now it features two things: digital transformation to enhance all the European countries to become more digital and more green. That's the two most important things.
Very good. Alex, we have half a minute.
Do you want a closing remark?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I basically agree a lot with what Panis said. If you would ask me 5-10 years back, I would say that Cyprus needs a success story, people to get people need to get inspired and stuff. But now we have a bunch of those, so it's very interesting seeing all of these people coming to Cyprus. It's interesting seeing how the society changes. With all this change, there comes a lot of problems, complaints and stuff. So hopefully. Especially Limassol, I guess we have to. Hopefully, we're gonna build enough infrastructure. Make sure to we have to accommodate what's happening. We have to embrace it in a way, but also we have to make sure that it doesn't affect the other side. But it's very exciting. Like, yeah, I mean, why not come to Cyprus, work here remotely or not? But it's great. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Thanks both of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.